Oseo.
Oseo.
Cherokee greeting. Wave the great feather for the good of it. Hey. For the past couple of weeks, I've been walking in the tracks of the buffalo who never dies. So I'm continuing that way, and what it's brought me to talk about today is the Okothonius indigenous people of Turtle Island. Now we say Native American and all of that, like that. The people from Europe that came over here, I always use this, you have BC and AD like that. Well, I have one too, and that's BEC, before Europeans came. It seems to me that the way that they came over here, they remind me of if you're driving your car along the freeway and the hood comes up in front of you. You know, that's about what it seemed like they were. They were totally alien people to Turtle Island, and they have, projected their ideas, through the upright hood of their vehicle and so forth. So we're going to try a little bit better with that. Some people have even asked me, Carlos, how long have Native Americans been here? Well, how long is long? That's what I'm saying. From the beginning. Now there's various theories and ideas, that people here came over from Asia, from Mongolia, Bering Straits, have all different ideas. Not too long ago, as old as the authorities were allowing was maybe a couple thousand years ago. Well, they've pushed that back now, maybe 10,000 years ago, and so forth. And it goes back farther and farther. Yeah, so here's a little anecdote, and that is, I just come over here from Arizona. In Arizona, I had been there, had friends with Navajo and Apache and Yaquis and Pima, and like that. So walking up a hill in the neighborhood here, a stone dislodged itself from a little cliff and rolled right down to my feet. Actually did that. I had never seen something like this before. Certainly it was an artifact, but not one I had ever seen. And so I showed our housemate, Randy Hawkins, and she's an archaeologist from San Diego State. So she knew what it was, and she even had some samples of her own of this ancient stone. Subsequently, I also related to our friend, Eric Woods. He's sitting over there. He's president of the Clay Associates up in Adams Avenue. Well, he knew something about it too. He was at Mesa College and he had a teacher who knew something about this, and that was Herbert Minchell. So he and Claudia took an artifact over there to Herbert Minchell, and of course Herbert Minchell recognized it right away. In fact, reportedly he showed them he had a bucket of them, like that. And so that's how it got started. Herbert Minchell also published a book. I think this was the late 60s. It's called Broken Stones. So anybody who's watching this who wants to look it up, it is a published book. And in that published book, he actually recounts in detail how George Carter, who was a San Diego geologist, had carried out an excavation on Texas Street here in San Diego, having to do with this stone that we are talking about. Somewhere in this, somebody dubbed this kind of stone Eolith. Eolith means dawn stone. And I also had occasion to have a conversation with some local geologists who had no trouble with these findings and how the geological layer determines the date of where these stones have been found, deep, in the earth here. Mostly, I think, around 800,000, 900,000, maybe even 1 million years. Talking that kind of thing. There was other finds related to this. Louis Leakey, the British archaeologist who had done all those finds and digs over in Africa, Old Dubai, Lucy, and all of that. Well, he conducted. Also, somebody hinted to him something along the lines of what we're looking at. Out east of here, east of Brawley, Barstow, somewhere out there, I don't remember exactly. But anyway, he did do a dig out there and also found the things that we're talking about. His findings were actually presented at a conference at Riverside at the library for all people, archaeologists concerned with this. I have actually read the report of that. And another one, almost, aside, Krishna Consciousness also published a massive book called Forbidden Archaeology, which I read in total like that. So all of this is a way of saying somebody made these stones. I had mentioned earlier the appearance of the prehistoric buffalo here was around 800,000 years ago. So we're having, ancient buffalo, ancient humans. And so the best I can do at this point here is to show you this artifact. I just picked this one up because it looks nice, shapely. This is an eolith, You can just call it any ancient age whatsoever. So you can see all of these are characteristically made out of a stone called quartzite. Is that right? Quartzite. And in Mitchell's book, he talked about how they tried to reproduce these, like hitting them with ball-peen hammers and things. And no modern way of reproducing these kind of artifacts has been successful. So the ancient people had their own way of making these. So you can get a good look at that. And this is just a sample of that, like that, has a nice grip, to hold it like this, and whatever they used them for. One idea, of course, is that they mashed mastodon bones, to get the insides out of it, like that. So that's one way that we're talking about whatever we can say the enormous antiquity of humans. The Europeans all want anybody who is here in this country came over from someplace else, and not very long ago, like that. And so the already established conservative authority is very adamant about refuting any of these things that I have just been talking about. Forbidden archaeology also records the casualties of anybody who defies the conservative authority. And in some instances, we have actually known individuals who were archaeologists to be victims of that authority. But that's enough to say here that human beings that we now pleasantly call Native Americans have always been here. Other people certainly have come to be here also, and have, however they could evolve or bring it about. So cultural artifacts would be hard to come by, because it seems that, as carvings and things like that are perishable. So we're not going to be able to get back to hundreds of thousands of years other than these broken stones, as Herbert Minchell called his book, that way. So the other way that we have as cultural evidence, cultural artifacts, has to be in the ceremonies, the rituals, and the knowledge that has managed to come down to us, that we still have, or we still make them, we still live by them. So that's something of my subject today. But since I am known as Coyote, and Coyote is nature's son tracking the path left undone, and so this will be Coyote's genesis on this. In other words, this is for all Native America what our genesis is here. One day, Coyote watched Silver Fox gather some service berry stick and started to whittle them down. Silver Fox told Coyote he was going to make people out of these. The finished sticks would be chiefs and warriors. The shavings would be common people. After a night and a day of whittling, Silver Fox turned the sticks into chiefs and the shavings into people. Coyote decided he would make people too, just the same way. So, copying everything he had seen Silver Fox do, he gathered some service berry sticks and whittled them down. After a night and a day, he too turned the finished sticks into people. Wowee! Look at those women people! And then Coyote went running after some of those shapely women he had created. And at length, he caught them. But when Coyote touched them, they all turned back into shavings. Now some Coyote anthropology. Let's see what I can show you. First I'm going to show you this one here. This is, Vivian Olds took this photo. This is my painting. It's a shield, and it's about 3 feet in diameter. And here you can see in the front, this is, the spirit buffalo. He has the red eyes because of that energy is coming out of him. And then I thought here behind him, you see these horns raising up. This is the prehistoric buffalo who had immense, 6-foot horns, so I put them like this. And the energy coming out of his horns going up here. And circling over above. This is in Cherokee, Uktena. This is the horned dragon, they call it. So that's a way to, if I had this shield here, I would hang it up here. But that's a way to be looking at that. Another thing we want to see is to look over here at this picture. This is Bear Butte, and it's in, I think it's in Wyoming, and it's right on the edge of the Black Hills, the Casapa, and there's a formation, circling the Black Hills of red earth, in this red earth, and that this place, Mato Paha, Bear Butte, is fertile, it's potent as a place where people have long gained visions. And one of these here that is known to our tradition, and that is a spiritual person, a powerful spiritual person was there. His name is, Sukya Wawokan, meaning sweet medicine. And sweet medicine had this vision or apparition that gave to him 4 arrows. And these 4 arrows are basically the teachings or guidance for the Cheyenne people. At this moment I can show you this book here. This is 7 arrows. So the 7 arrows is a bit of an enlargement of the 4 arrows given to sweet medicine. The 4 arrows are something like, wisdom and trust and insight and illumination. So that's the, the basic teachings. To this, and by way of this book, the further arrows is, I think the 5th arrow is the earth, and the 6th arrow is the sky, the luminaries, the sun and moon and stars, and the 7th arrow is the spirit. That means like a universal spirit that unifies everything. So this is a very well described and documented, a lot of photos and things like that. Beautiful shields illustrated in here of this way, principally here, Cheyenne, the Shayala Kola, the Cheyenne people. So that's what I'm showing there for that. So for that, I didn't have 7 arrows, but I put this ceremonial little bow and arrow, to represent the 4 arrows that was given to sweet medicine here on Bear Butte. People still continue to go there for their visions. So it's a very fertile place. Remember that people have been living here for forever. And everything in the landscape is so intimately known and related to, so that we can know that. And we come over here to this here. This is, by the Americans, is being called a Devil's Tower. I don't know why they make up those things like that. But it is also, being called, Mato Tipila, meaning the bear's teepee. By this photograph, you can't really see it, but otherwise you can see this is deeply grooved all the way around. And how it caught that way is how it gets its name. And that was because there was a bear. And then you have, there was 7 sisters, that's what we call them. And the bear was pursuing these 7 sisters. And as the bear was gaining on them, this rock, came up and enabled the 7 sisters to, get hoisted up and, what do you say, pushed up into the sky where they became the Pleiades, which right now is the White Buffalo constellation. And then what happened was the bear, he was trying to climb up there, and so you can see on the mountain these claw marks all around. So that's how this place got that name. The other name for it is that it's called brown buffalo horn, broken. And so like that. This photo was taken by Deb Sutherland, and I have the buffalo here and I have the red buffalo here. And along with this, the idea of the teepee, I have this here. Because here, the teepee is the home of the buffalo. In other words, you want to say, what does a buffalo's house look like? It looks like a teepee. And here, this is Minnesäpala, and that is the water hole on the prairie, which still symbolically unifies the buffalo people here. And when I come down here where I keep showing this, this is a fossil of the ammonite, like that, and which actually recently I described occurred to me in a dream. Before the dream, I would never have thought of putting the buffalo together with the ammonite. But I think in the way that I'm talking, when you see how this looks and winds, I think it was a way of showing me that the buffalo, and we would say the humans, have come about here. You can see that evolve or come about. And it was discovered sometime by a woman of the Blackfoot Nation, and it talked to her, it taught her songs and so forth. So it's become called the Buffalo Stone. The Buffalo Stone in that language is Iniskim, so that it would call or attract the buffalo, and that's certainly what I'm doing with it here. So, but that certainly would speak of enormous antiquity, said to be 480 million years old there. When you come up here to this piece here, this here is Lady Sweetgrass. Lady Sweetgrass, you win Wachanga, and I made her here, very lovely. The sweetgrass is the main incense, is what you use it for the buffalo. At one time I had the buffalo skull, and I had an abundance of this sweetgrass so that I could fill the cavities of the buffalo skull with fresh sweetgrass, which gave it a long time fragrance, beautiful fragrance when it's fresh. This is green but now it has dried. So that's what that is, and I'm going to read something from that. So if you can film this down here, my piece here for this, you get a good picture of that. And I'm going to pick it up to read it here. I was looking for sweetgrass, the powerful sweetgrass. How powerful. I was finding it. I was lifting it up. How powerful. Old man was coming in saying he wants to have a sweat. He says, I want a real white buffalo robe. Old woman was coming in saying, ditto, ditto, ditto. Morning Star was coming in saying he wants to have a sweat. And he says, I want some fine tail feathers. Coyote was coming in saying, let's go have a sweat. He was giving all of us a real sense of security. Old man says, I want some black and white buffalo robes. Old woman says, I want some black and white wolf hides. And now she wants another sweat house. Morning Star shows up with lots of things. Old man says, this man's got to want some tail feathers. Old man says, I want 100 tail feathers. Old woman says, I want all different kinds of tail feathers. Old man says, better not forget my white buffalo robe. Old woman says, better not forget my different kind of elk robe. You know, someone up there sees me. How powerful. I was looking down at the ground. How powerful. I have lifted up the buffalo. Yay, yay. How very, very powerful. Yay, yo, hey. Yo, one kala, one chilaga, exalting sweetgrass. Everybody's back. So while we're here, in this district, a couple of things. These are contemporary things, but everything, this word I introduced before, preterite, a verb tense that has no limit to it. So we can say, we do know, and even though these things happened at any time in the past, 100,000 years ago, anything like that, there's no limit to them. They are still happening. They are still happening. And all of the things that still survive for us 100 years ago, after all the bad things that happened, still are fertile, and we still create, from those things. So a couple of those things, here I have, this is a particular pouch for tobacco and pipe, like that. You can see the real fine beadwork. Ostensibly, this is the Sioux Nation is a European name for what was, the great United First Nations in the center of Turtle Island. So that's what this is, And then over here, this is a pipe. And this is made of the red stone. This red stone is very significant. And as far as I understand, it is only found in the Dakota country of Minnesota. Minnesota is the native name for it. And it's really thought of as the blood of the people. And up here, this is what we call, a medicine bag, a gish, like that. So people like myself can wear this with whatever special herbs or little things that are in it, but that's what we would call that, a medicine bag. Let me step aside here, and if you can see this piece here. I collected this. I didn't paint this, but the reason that I have it here because I think it's a good image to show spirit. We have this word spirit that's come in, to our languages here, and everybody understands what we're talking about, so we keep using that word. Native America is the land and world of spirits, and that's really how we live and what governs us, including myself. And so here you have the person here, he has a shield and he's got all of these eagle feathers, all like that. And I think that's a very apt way to show, we are of spirit, a lot of spirit. And what I have here, this is a parfleche like that, and this is specifically for carrying our special or sacred feathers. And here I have protruding here, this is a California condor feather. I also have a golden eagle feather in here. So I think these things go together very well. Now we can go way back over here. It's kind of like saying a little diorama I'm going to explain to you. First, that this is also an eolith. They come in all sizes and shapes, but mainly they're made of the quartzite. And this one has this actual, in red, in the rock, in that shape. And so I think that's a very significant to go with what I'm talking about here. All of this here is like a little diorama. And this here is Wind Cave. So for the Lakota people, we're saying they were the buffalo people, indwellers into earth like that. And somebody, either a wolf or a spider in some cases, enticed the buffalo, the Coyote, to come out into the sun like that. So there is a place there in the Black Hills where this is my illustration for that people emerged from. So here on this rock I've used for these artifacts, there is actually a hole for that, and here's the buffalo. And here, this is the red stone that later they dug up, and said this is the blood of our ancestors here. And here I have a little bronze Indian with a feather on it, all to go together with this. And then over here, this is a portrait. This is Red Cloud. His name actually came from some phenomena that happened in the sky that looked like a red star when he was born. So that's how he got his name, and he is a medicine man and chief of the Oglala. He said he didn't usually like wearing that headdress, but here, this might be a Edward Curtis photograph. And you can see a little bit right here, the pipe. So this pipe is bigger, that's the redstone pipe, than the one that I have over here. So with all that in order, then I have a poem to go with it. This is a very Native American sense here, and this is by Mike Bond. I don't know. I introduced, that's our grandfather. And here his book has the buffalo on the cover. And he titles this "The Drum That Beats Within Us." And it was first published by Lawrence Ferlinghetti, a City Lights book in San Francisco, like that. So here's the poem to go with everything I just now showed you. Last night I had a dream. I was on my pony, riding north and east. Each day was new, the land unending. I could have traveled forever had I wanted. Each day grass for the pony, water cool to drink, game to ease my hunger, antelope and deer and buffalo and elk and all the four-footed creatures of this earth. "Where are you going, little one?" the grandfathers asked me. "I am going to the hills, oh great ones. I am going to the hills, the Black Hills, Kasapa, to dance with my enemies, the crow, Pasaloka, under the waxing light of the moon of black cherries, under the yellow moon, Wimimazi. For all that has been before shall be again. All that was is now and always will. Nothing lies forgotten under the grass. Our dead shall be avenged, for the victors die of poison. And our dead, our grandfathers, our ancestors, they have feet of grass, bones of air, skin of clear stream water, and with their sharp eyes they watch me. The stones will wait, knowing that ignored is often the vault where deepest hopes are stored. Aho, aho.